Welcome to Know Your Brain, Neurofatigue. Lorraine and I are both going to be presenting this topic today to follow along with the Know Your Brain Stroke Awareness Month topics. So last week, Katie presented on an amazing presentation on neuroplasticity, and neurofatigue is a great follow-up to that conversation. So we're really excited to bring this presentation to you guys so that you can get a better idea of what neurofatigue is, because it is a topic that often is talked about, but not a lot of people have an understanding of what it really means and ways to manage your neurofatigue. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with our first slide here.
All right, so first I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what neurofatigue is. Basically, neurofatigue is your brain gets tired. It's a symptom of a brain injury in which mental energy is exhausted after a short period of time. Now, everyone is aware of physical energy. Like if you go for a long run or you go for a hard workout, you might feel like your muscles are tired or you might feel physically exhausted. But a lot of people aren't aware that you also have mental energy, and that can also be exhausted. Mental energy is consumed through tasks like thinking, learning, processing information, watching a lot of TV, spending time in front of a computer, interpreting the behavior of others in conversation or at a restaurant or watching TV, and also thinking logically. So why does neurofatigue occur? People with brain injury often use more parts of their brain because the injured areas must be passed by as brain cells try to communicate with each other to complete a task. You may have heard Katie or one of your other therapists at Steps for Recovery explain that right now, after your brain injury, it's like your brain is undergoing road construction. Because of this road construction, it has to take a lot of detours to be able to perform the same tasks it did before. These detours use more energy, and sometimes they take longer, just like if you were to take a detour because of road construction when you were driving. As a result of neurofatigue, you might show some of these symptoms. Your emotions can be raw. You might have slower reaction time. You might have delayed processing, so it might take longer for you to think of a response. You might be physically tired. You feel like all you want to do is sleep. You might be mentally tired, like you don't want to even think or do anything. You just want to be. You might also get a lot more frustrated or depressed about tasks that you didn't think were that frustrating before.
So here is a great example. Taking the brain out of it, I want you guys to think about these two different cell phones. So we have a healthy cell phone, one that's brand new, you just got it, just took it out of all the packaging, and then we have the cell phone that dropped on the floor and is broken. So these are two different brains, healthy new brain and the broken injured brain. So each of these cell phones has a battery life, and you know when you get that new cell phone, it really keeps its charge. You start the day at 100% battery and it gets you through the full day. You don't even need to plug it in. So that's what this healthy brain battery visual is showing you is that you start your day at 100% charge. You do tasks that you do every day. You get out of bed, you brush your teeth, you might take a shower, you get dressed, you go into your afternoon. You still got a good amount of energy. You didn't need to take a nap or anything. You didn't need to plug your cell phone in to get a charge. You might do some activity at night, like go for a walk with your family, or hang out with friends and family in your living room. And then you go to bed. And at bedtime, your battery charges back up to 100%. When comparing this to an injured brain's battery, you don't start the day at 100%. You start your day at 50%. You wake up, you have to do your activities of daily living, like dressing, bathing. It's even cognitively a lot to sit and have a conversation with your family at the breakfast table. And so that bumps your battery down to 25%. And then let's say that day was a day where you needed to do your exercises or you had a doctor's appointment. Now your battery's going down even more to like less than 10%. And so then at nighttime, you're all the way down at the bottom of your battery. And you go to bed and you try to recharge that battery. But you're probably only going to recharge it to 50%. So then if we compare this to two injured brains or two broken cell phones, if you, example A shows a person who did not have any brain rest during the day. And so they start their day at 50% charged. They do their morning routine. Now they're down at 25%. They might do their exercises or have gone out on a doctor's appointment. Now they're even lower. And then they might watch TV and have to do their evening routine of getting dressed, washing up. And now they're going to bed with less than 5% battery. So when they wake up in the morning, their battery is only going to be 50%. Compared to the injured brain battery B, which, they're waking up in the morning at a 75% battery, because as you go down, you see that they're doing some brain rest before doing their exercises or going out to their doctor's appointment. So they're charging their cell phone before, like in the midday, before they have to be expected to do these evening routines. And so that charge allows them to go to bed at night and wake up in the morning with more of their battery charged to go for the day. And I love this interpretation of neurofatigue and how to explain neurofatigue. And we will have this as a handout resource as well for you guys, so that you can look at it often to understand kind of the difference between your brain battery and, your caregivers or your wife's or your kids, who are going to have more energy throughout the day.
Yeah. This fatigue management is really that starting point for your recovery.
So when we talk about managing neurofatigue, Lorraine and I broke it up into 3 steps. And I think these 3 steps are very, very important. And it's important not to skip a step. There's a reason that they're ordered this way. A lot of the times we tell people immediately, oh, hey, yeah, you need brain rest. But I think we're working towards explaining why you need the brain rest and becoming more aware of, what happens when you don't have that brain rest. So if you break it up into 3 steps, step 1 being that you recognize you do not have the same physical and mental stamina that you had before your brain injury. This allows you to do step 2, which is becoming more aware of your limitations when your battery is low. A lot of the time we have people who want to go out with their friends and family to that social gathering, but didn't take that brain rest opportunity that they needed to. And so when they got out there and were socializing, they got so exhausted, or they weren't able to perform that transfer to the toilet like they used to be able to when they had more energy. And it definitely, when your battery is low, it's going to impact your ability to move. It's going to impact your ability to think. It's going to impact your ability to socially engage. And then step 3 is make a plan by scheduling time for to sleep, to have frequent breaks between activities, especially if you know there's certain activities that drain your brain quickly. Eating and hydrating is also important, and so we're going to, in this slideshow, break down all the different ways you can make a plan and schedule time. But yes, so those are our 3 steps.
So let's start out with step 1, which is recognizing signs of fatigue. Now, at first, this might seem like it would be easy to do, but following a brain injury, it can be really difficult to notice these signs of fatigue. There's research evidence that has shown that after a brain injury, the sensory feedback processes of the brain are actually impaired, which makes it really hard for the person with the brain injury to notice when they're fatigued until it's often too late. This is a quote from someone with a brain injury, and it says, "Often it can creep up. It may not be so noticeable until you reach a crunch point where you become aware that I just can't deal with this anymore, or you can't think straight." This is really common, where often people don't realize it's happening until their battery is almost completely empty. But becoming more aware of these signs, or asking a friend or family member to keep track or try to figure out whether you have these signs, is also really important. They include things like yawning, your eyes feeling heavy, fidgeting, getting irritable, limbs feeling heavy. Some people get a stomach ache or feeling sick. Others may have a fuzzy head, and you might lose your concentration or attention more easily. Now, moving on to step 2, these are triggers to fatigue. Being aware of what activities might affect you and how they might affect you. So, things that can trigger neurofatigue include working on a computer, dealing with paperwork correspondence, being in a busy environment like a grocery store. Most people don't realize that just going into the grocery store can be really fatiguing. Also, concentrating on one conversation in a noisy place, for example, a restaurant. When you go and eat at a restaurant, there's a lot of background noise. And you have to use more cognitive and mental energy to pay attention to the conversation you're having with your spouse or with whoever you're eating with. And also driving or catching public transportation. These are all possible triggers. This list is not inclusive of everything. Everyone has unique triggers, and it's important that you figure out your personal triggers. So, how do you find out what your personal triggers are? This is a simple way that you can kind of systematically go through your day and figure out what are the things that drain my energy the most. You want to start by making a plan to identify these triggers. I recommend using this 0 to 10 scale and you're going to rate how tired you feel before an activity and after the activity is complete. This is going to show you how fatiguing that activity is for you. In general, the larger the difference between the two numbers from the start to the end, that's how fatiguing that activity was for you. Now, there are triggers and specific activities that make neurofatigue worse, but there's also just general background environmental things that can make neurofatigue worse. These are things you want to try to avoid when possible or limit. Things like excess background noise. There's a lot of noise, everyone has a more difficult time concentrating, so it's going to take more mental energy. Overstimulation. So if someone is giving you too much information, or you are getting too much tactile stimulation. Stimulation is really anything that has to do with the senses. Next, overworking or pushing through fatigue. This is really common with some people, especially initially after the brain injury. They're super motivated and determined that they want to recover and get better, so they push themselves really hard. And they want to do the same things they did before, so they might feel a little tired and they tell themselves they can keep going. This is how they're going to get better. But that is actually counterproductive, and it's making this neurofatigue and causing kind of a barrier to your recovery instead. Another one is lack of sleep. Sleeping problems are often a problem with people with brain injury, that they find that their circadian rhythm is off, or that they're not quite sleeping as well as they did before. In the next couple of slides, Julie's going to talk a little bit about managing fatigue and managing some of these things that make neurofatigue worse.
So here we are, step 3, managing your fatigue. First is talking about pacing. So what you want to think about is balancing your activities throughout the week. If you know that you have 3 doctor's appointments Monday, Tuesday, and they're back-to-back on Tuesday, you might want to think about what your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are going to look like. You might not want to jam-pack a whole bunch of social activities into those days. Same thing with having regular rest breaks. On that Tuesday where you have 2 doctor's appointments, you're going to want to make sure that you have an opportunity to maybe rest in between, or acknowledge the fact that later on in the day after the appointments are over with, you're going to need to take a break. And this goes along with planning your time and staying organized. I think the past few weeks, a lot of us have discussed with our clients routine and how routine is so important. Planning your day, making sure that you're getting involved in some things during the day, but you're also taking time away from your computer, your laptop, your television screen, and just having some time alone on your own, just giving your brain a break from all of that stimulus. And staying organized too really helps, because if you don't organize what your week looks like, you might end up being that person that has 3 doctor's appointments Monday and Tuesday, and then you also planned like going to all your therapies on Monday, and so now your Monday's jam-packed. But you also have therapy on Wednesday, and by the time you get to therapy on Wednesday, you are just done. You're done for the week. You have nothing left to give. prioritizing is also really important. Where are you going to put your energy? You know what activities require more energy for you. And so acknowledging the fact that there are some activities that are going to be more important than others, and finding a balance throughout the week. So, which activities can you delegate to someone else if you need to, if you know that week's going to be a really busy week for you? Or could you do any activities less often? So this pacing piece is really important. And if you have difficulty with planning your time, staying organized, build yourself a schedule. Use the schedule builder that Lorraine talked about in a while back when she was talking about routine. Because it's going to help you with this pacing piece of managing your fatigue.
We'll also put that link as a resource for you guys to schedulebuilder.org for this presentation as well.
Sleeping. And by all means, please schedule in naps throughout the day. Put it on a schedule. Say, I'm going to take a nap right here at 2 o'clock. That is fine. But so sleeping is valuable. Like you guys saw in that diagram before, sleep allows your brain to recharge. And that full recharge is really going to help you get you through the rest of the next day. You're going to want to avoid taking power naps. Taking a brain rest nap for about 15-20 minutes, that's okay, but avoid anything longer than 30 minutes during the day. Sleeping after 4 p.m. disrupts your sleep and wake cycle. And so you want to try to also avoid sleeping after that time. Establish a regular routine of going to bed and getting up at the same time. Even if it's the weekend, try your best to stay within that typical time of you getting up. So that way when it rolls on to Monday, it's not as hard getting up at that 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock time. Establishing relaxing activities and environment before bed. I think that this is very important and vital. A lot of our clients who are coming out of rehab or coming out of skilled nursing facilities, your environment for sleep is so important now. Get yourself some darkening shades for your bedroom. Make sure that the temperature of the bedroom is adequate. I preferably like the bedroom to be cooler. I like a fan going. If you're someone who needs background noise, get some white noise to help you sleep. But being comfortable is super important in your bedroom. Avoid watching TV in bed. This is another important aspect. You should not have the TV going while sleeping. It just should not be a thing. If you have a TV in your bedroom and you don't really use it that often, I would get rid of the TV completely from your bedroom, because it shouldn't be on, and your bedroom is a place to sleep. Avoid exercising within 3 hours of going to bed. And then the last one is avoid having tea, coffee, soda, or other caffeinated beverages after 4 p.m. And so that segues a little bit into hydration. Sorry guys, my notes fell asleep on me. So hydration is super important as well, just like everything else, super important. But every person is different when it comes to the necessary amount of water that you need to drink throughout the day. I think when you consider how much water you should be drinking, you need to ask yourself a few questions. First, did you move a lot today? Did you exercise? How much have you used the restroom today? What else did you drink during the day? Did you have coffee this morning? Did you have tea? For every cup of coffee or cup of black tea you have, you have to drink 1 cup of water to rehydrate. Water leaves the body in many forms, as we know. It leaves in urine, your bowel movements, sweat, exhalation of breath, so when you're speaking. And the National Academics of Science, Engineering, and Medicine determine that adequate daily fluid intake is about 15.5 cups or 3.7 liters of fluid for men, and about 11.5 cups or 2.7 liters of fluid a day for a female or woman. So if you had 1 cup of coffee and you're a male, you now need to drink 16.5 cups of water that day to maintain your level of hydration. So do drink water, don't drink caffeine, anything with like tea, coffee, or fizzy drinks. So nutrition is vital when it comes to your brain health, and what you eat also determines how much energy you have throughout the day. So if you avoid the sugar crash, you're minimizing your intake of sugary foods like sweets, sugar cereals, and white bread. As opposed to if you work towards those the balanced diet where you have proteins, good fats and oils, and carbohydrates, that can improve your overall brain health, but also allow you to avoid that sugar crash that is so commonly occurs by eating sweets, which Lorraine can comment on because she told me that she has a lot of sugar crashes, probably because she eats a lot of sweets and sugary cereals.
It's true. I'm guilty.
Yes.
Change together.
So nutrition is vital throughout your day, and adding this to your daily routine, if you're someone who's getting up at 9, having a cup of coffee, okay, but acknowledging the fact that you're going to have to drink water throughout the day, and what did you have for breakfast really can make or break your day. If you're having sugar cereals, expect that by the midday you might have a crash and you might need to take a nap, as opposed to maybe you had eggs that morning. That keeps you going a little bit more. Your energy is kind of leveled out.
All right, so now we get to some of my favorite slides, which are cognitive strategies. And if you guys have had any sessions with me, then you likely recognize these and are very familiar with them. But cognitive strategies are kind of a great way to strengthen your brain and also make sure that you're managing your neurofatigue efficiently, so that you can still do the things you love. In general, there are a couple of things that would really help. First, use checklists to stay on track. When you have a piece of written information, you no longer have to use up the mental energy to think about everything you have to do. You have a plan from the beginning that you can follow and refer to, so you can use your mental energy for more important tasks like completing your work on time or completing the things you actually have to do. This making a checklist goes along kind of with scheduling your time and using a planner. Julia talked a lot about pacing, and making a schedule is a great way to make sure you're pacing. One thing I like about this website, schedulebuilder.org, is when you make your weekly schedule, you can switch the view into a list view that can be used as a checklist as well. It's also really easy to modify from week to week. This way you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, the third thing, use alarms to prompt you to stay on task or take breaks. A lot of times, after a brain injury, people might have some memory impairment or some trouble starting tasks. If you notice that you're having a hard time getting everything you need to do done, try to set an alarm to tell you when your time is to switch or to take a break. Same goes if you notice that you have a tendency to push yourself through your fatigue because you just want to finish the task. Set an alarm for yourself so you know that you need to take a break. That way you don't knock yourself out for the entire day. Next, do one thing at a time. When you multitask, you are using so much mental energy at one time, and oftentimes you're not doing it as well as you would if you were just doing one thing at a time. You want to put all that mental energy into that one task, and you're going to notice that it's going to come out better. You're probably going to do it faster, and it's not going to take as much energy. Next, write some notes or post-its as reminders rather than trying to hold something in your mind. A lot of times when I'm working on something, I have a lot of thoughts popping up in my head that, oh, I need to go get gas for my car after work. I need to send this email, all while trying to write session notes. These are all distractions for my mind. And as long as they're still in my mind, I can't work on my session notes very well. So I write down on a piece of paper next to my computer those distracting things, and I make that little checklist so that when I'm done with my notes, I can refer back to it and it's out of my mind. Use cue cards to act as reminders. This kind of goes along with post-its, but put a card someplace that you are going to see it all the time. Maybe it's the computer, where you know that after an hour of working on the computer, your neurofatigue is setting in. So put a cue card on the computer that says, work for only 1 hour. And last, break things into steps. A lot of times after brain injury, everyone knows their life has changed a lot. It might take longer just to get out of bed or go to the bathroom than it did before your brain injury. So when you think about planning out tasks like eating breakfast, also consider the amount of time it takes for you to get to the table, to sit down, to clean your dish up. All of these things are going to take longer, so plan for them to take longer. This final slide is about some brain rest activities. These are the things you want to plan to try to help your brain recharge and recover. So you're going to have to try out different ones because everyone's brain is different and will respond differently to these activities. Some you might try and notice that it didn't really recharge your battery that much. Others you'll notice you feel like it recharged your battery a whole lot. So here are some examples of things you can start trying. Listening to soft, relaxing music, meditating, taking a power nap. Again, when I say power nap, no more than 30 minutes. You don't want to do anything more than 30 minutes. Ideally, probably 15 minutes. Listen to an audiobook or podcast. Do progressive muscle relaxation. So there's some great apps for this where the speaker will walk you through, okay, relax your arms, feel each finger. All of these things can help your brain relax and you feel your body. Look through a photo album. Take some deep breaths. Relax on the porch or in a quiet space outside. All of these activities will help your brain recover, but how much depends on you.
So these are some takeaway points from our presentation. It's basically those 3 steps in the beginning. You're recognizing your signs of fatigue, you know your triggers, and you take brain rest. I think that Lorraine did a great job of pointing out ways for you guys to start implementing brain rest in your daily lives, in your daily routine. I always find that some barriers to brain rest is the hustle and bustle of your family or your caregiver. So sometimes, like that post-it note that just says brain rest on it, put that on your door and close your door and go and lay down. And if your caregiver comes to the door and it says brain rest on it, it gives them a visual cue to respond by not waking you up or giving you those 15 minutes. The other thing too that I think helps some people is if you're taking a brain rest during the day, but there's a lot of things going on in your home during that day, putting earplugs in or putting noise canceling headphones on so that you can truly just get into your own space, your own mind, is really helpful because our systems pick up on a lot throughout the day. Our eyes will pick up on light that's coming through your windows. Our ears are going to pick up on the sound, even if it's the person outside who's mowing the lawn. Certain smells as well. So just be aware of what can break you away from doing that brain rest. And try to adapt your environment to allow you to have successful brain rest. And you will notice the difference. You'll notice the difference in the way that you wake up in the morning. You'll notice the difference in the way that you respond to your therapy. If your brain's fatigued, then neuroplasticity is going to be hard. It's going to be hard for you to do repetitions in the clinic. So prepare your brain for the work that it's about to do that day. Also, all the photos from this presentation, they have a little blue arrow, which you guys can see over here on our screen. So if you click that arrow, it will redirect you to the source that we got that photo from. And check out our website, stepsforrecovery.com. We have our Steps Live tab, which provides you guys with all of the resources that we use in our presentations. And this PowerPoint will be provided in that area on that website as a PDF. So you'll always have access to all of the different steps and everything that was listed in this presentation. Feel free to email or feel free to comment below. And if you have questions, we are happy to answer them. Lorraine, do you have anything else about this presentation you'd like to say?
I guess just, emphasizing again that managing your neurofatigue really is the first step to recovery. A lot of people don't realize what a big impact making a schedule can be. And, the schedule isn't meant to dictate everything you need to do. It's meant to be kind of a guide and a way for you to take control of the activities you do. Make sure that, when you make a schedule, you're taking into consideration your caretaker as well and what they need to accomplish. But, brain rest is important, and finding time in your schedule should be a priority.
Yeah, you're right. Brain rest is important for everyone. Even if you are someone who hasn't had a stroke or a brain injury, like a traumatic brain injury, brain rest is important for me. Brain rest is important for Lorraine. And I think that it's vital to, like Lorraine said, understanding that your caregiver also needs this. So maybe, you both take some brain rest at the same time. But yeah, That was great. So thank you guys for watching.